Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Lisa Kusima, and in this video we're going to be sharing about long distance marriage, but generally how to keep the family together. I have an amazing couple with me, so keep watching. Keep watching. On the channel, I'm happy to welcome Julie and Hannington. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Kindly introduce yourself, tell them who you are, what you do, and then we can get into the gist of the conversation.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
My name is Julie Muyenje. I draw my identity from my relationship with God. I'm a born-again believer.
Yeah.
A mother of two 18-year-old, 20-year-old biological children and others that God has given us along the way.
Wow.
What else? Two fun facts. I love structure. And at some point of the conversation, I think that will come out.
Yeah.
And I love humor, but I'm not humorous. Thankfully, I'm married to a very humorous man. So I
he
get
makes
to
you
laugh
laugh.
at all his jokes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yes.
Yes, I'm Hannington, Hannington Muyenje. We have the kids, as she said. This is Julie, my wife. We live in Connecticut, US, since about a year and a half. But we have been really living different places. But we are Ugandans, and really our identity is Jesus. We know that guy. He's been our everything. Yeah.
Wow, amazing, amazing. So I had a conversation on my Instagram stories about, I always have relationship conversations. And this particular one stood out. Many people were really interested in just learning about long distance, how it works, is it doable, and how do we actually prioritize our families and stay together. And I thought you guys would be such a good fit for the conversation. So we'll just dive right into it. Tell us how long you've been married and how is marriage in general?
So we've been married 23 years in November. We got married young.
Yeah.
I was 24, he was 27. So you can do the math
yeah,
and know what our ages are. And I think the one word that defines marriage for me is an adventure. I've learned so much about myself, so much about Hannington. I think the best and the worst in me has come out in the 23 years. And I think the word adventure is, I think about the dating Julie and how I showed up all the way to the premenopausal Julie.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of versions of Julie. There's Julie the mother of teenagers, Julie the mother of babies, Julie the working mother, Julie the stay-home mom. And we've seen God's grace.
Wow.
So, yeah, how would you define marriage?
For you, how has marriage been? How is it?
Yeah, marriage has been exciting. It's a partnership that makes someone change. You can't remain the same, but it is a positive opportunity. I think marriage, with all its work, it makes someone better. I feel that I am better. I would never have been what I am if I didn't meet Julie. If we didn't have the fun we have together or the fights I have with Julie, I think I wouldn't be the man I am today.
Wow.
So marriage, like she calls it, an adventure, has been awesome. I think the goal really is that the good stuff outwits the bad stuff. And that's what we have experienced. Ours has been one of good stuff, has been much more than ugly stuff. Yeah.
And I'm really excited to just dive deep in this journey, as we speak about just long distance. What led you on that journey? What was your journey like of long distance?
Why do I have to be the one to start all the time?
Hannington, please.
So we got married, and 6 months later, my wife had an opportunity to study abroad. I must give a backstory to this. Her dad, as part of conditions to get me to marry her, to allow me to marry her, was we would not engage in reproducing babies until she had finished her master's degree.
Wow.
Yes. And I made a pledge that no babies until there's a master's degree, among other things he demanded for. It wasn't easy.
Wow.
That's a story for another day.
Yeah.
And so when this opportunity came up for Julie to go study abroad in the Netherlands for her master's, 6 months into our marriage, we said yes, naively, I must say. And off she went. So our experience was right at the start. She went in and I stayed. We didn't have babies, of course. And that, I think, made it easier.
Okay.
But it bit. It stung us to the degree that we made a promise never to live apart for more than 3 months as a couple.
Okay, when you talk about it stung, what is that? We want to get into that stinging. We want to understand,
I think the challenge with opportunity, so maybe my overarching message would be that every couple, actually even single people, you need to start to be thoughtful before opportunities come.
Yeah.
Because if you start thinking after the opportunity comes, it's really hard.
It's hard because
this was a full ride scholarship. Everything was provided, a huge stipend that was more than my salary. So I was like, I'll be sending money back home.
It will be okay.
Everything was there. Everything was right there. How do you say no? It's just 9 months. It's just 9 months. We also planned for Hannington to come and visit, and he did come and visit in the middle. We had phones by then. No email. There's no email because this is 2003. And but the sting was that I think my biggest sting, there was loneliness. Extremely lonely. But my biggest sting was that I was experiencing a whole different world that he was not a part of. Because even when he came to visit, it was for 3 weeks. He came in the dead of winter. We could only do a few things. I was forming friendships, relationships. I was being exposed. And exposure happened so quickly. And I was like a sponge. I was like drawing in all these things that he was not a part of. So when I came back home, I was quite restless. I just wanted so much more out of life that he didn't quite understand. I was very independent. One would think just 9 months, how can you change so much? But it's interesting how quickly you change. I was not accountable for 9 months. Actually, it was a year because I also did my internship in South Sudan. So when I came back after the 9 months, I went straight South Sudan, Juba, for 3 months and did my internship. So I was independent. I'd do my things. I would I wouldn't be accountable. So when I came back home, it was a bit like, what's your structure for the day? What are you doing today? And there's something in my heart that was like,
why are you asking?
So there's a little bit of what's happening here. And it was happening in my head because, again, I by nature, I'm not very confrontational. So these things were more, the battle was more inside me. And things like furniture, food, it may seem like small things, but it's those small things incrementally that become the thing that then people say irreconcilable differences.
Yes, it's always the small things.
Small things added together. And of course, Hannington had also evolved in a year. He had experienced different things. It happens both ways. And then sexually, you're apart for a year, and we'd left 6 months. 6 months, you're still discovering so much about yourself, your body, each other. And then you're gone. And then now you come back, it's like, you have to
start from scratch.
Yeah. So,
Hannington, how was it for you?
Of course, being a guy, sex. We were virgins when we got married, and we tasted what good is. And then suddenly
it's gone.
And you think, oh, it's gonna be all right, and it's not.
It's not.
So there's loads of sexual temptation. We were working in secular environment. We're living in a world. I mean, whether you're living in church or working in a secular environment, you will still experience the pressure. So there was a lot of pressure on that side. When you get to that level as a man, you begin to wonder, did I make a mistake? Is this thing that I have the best there is out there? You begin to develop patterns that are not useful, patterns that have to be undone later. It felt lonely. The loneliness from not having an accountability partner. I personally have never lived alone. I never want to live alone. The day I left out of my mother's house, I left with my friend Savio. I couldn't live in the house alone, not because I fear physically, but I just want to have
people
life
around.
me.
Yes.
And so,
It's a
yes, I did have
I get
friends.
it.
I did have the Serenas, the Melodies, and all the other people, but these guys meet you during the day in church and they go and
Bye.
all by yourself. It stung me. It's a life I felt. I would say it's a year in our 23 years that I don't have accountability for apart from her degree.
Yeah.
I think that every year I have seen us move from one level to the next
another.
in very tangible ways. That year, I feel like what we got was an MA really, the masters.
Yeah. And when you think about that, when I put myself in a situation like that, I know myself, my love language, I love quality time.
That's my love.
I love to talk. I want my husband to be listening to the jazz. I come back and I first unload, you know.
Yeah.
And then the person is not there. I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. It can be quite something.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you went through that, I know we had a chat and you said we decided that this is something we're never going to do again. What was that last straw and how did you then get together?
Yeah, so when we made the choice not to live apart again, it's interesting because then 2 years after that, Hannington got a scholarship to the US to do his master's.
Wow.
And it was funding one person. So there again,
The choice
we were
came.
like, God, why? So Hannington pushed back. And I think the other message I'd like to pass on to viewers is ask big and ask bold. God wants us to be bold in our asks of Him and not to limit ourselves. I think sometimes you feel like, if I ask, they'll be
I'll
like,
lose.
you're grateful. They'll take the next person. I'm sure there's a whole list and a backup list. And the way the scholarship came, just like mine, I casually went to the Dutch embassy. I was working for a Dutch couple. So I went there for their passports. I found paperwork on the table. I read, I said, scholarships. I applied casually, forgot that I had applied. When they wrote to me to say, congratulations, you got a scholarship, I told her, I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Same thing with him. A professor he was working with on a research project went to the US and they said, we need someone of this profile. He was like, here's the guy's email. Send him an email. Actually, call him.
Yeah.
Hannington gets a call from the US and they're saying, congratulations, we're offering you a scholarship. He said, you got the wrong number.
Yeah.
And only for this guy to say, again, I'm going to call you, please say yes, and I'll explain everything after. So he said, I'm going to ask bold. So he pushed back and he said, I'm not accepting the scholarship if I can't come with my family.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, we'll facilitate your family to come, but the stipend will remain for one. Interestingly, these stipends are usually very generous for our salary here in Uganda. So with
It would
his
work.
one- it would work. It would work.
Yeah.
We had a 2-year-old. I was pregnant, and we were able to actually live okay. Asking big and asking bold helped us kind of get bolder. And God was actually training our muscles because down the road, we were going to have to make those decisions again and again and again, right? And so God used that as a training ground because then fast forward, after he studied, we came back to Uganda. And then I started working as a stay-home mom for 5 years. And then went back to work. When I went back to work, I was offered an expatriate job in Jordan. Yet again, we found ourselves
In the same situation.
And people said, it's 1 year. No, you've got kids. Hannington, you've got establishments. You've got our home. We had a business. You stay here. You had a job. Stay with the kids. Julie,
Just
go.
1 year.
Julie, go. She'll come back. And the package had even home leave every 3 months. She'll be coming every... We said there is no way we will sell everything.
Wow.
Everything. We'll sell everything. Go for a year. Suck in that culture. Experience it together as a family. And come back. But little did we know that 1 year was actually going to turn into 11 years.
Oh
right?
my God.
And so that's the thing. And
Yeah.
I think I don't carry judgment for couples that make the decision to separate. I know it's hard. It's not black and white. It's very difficult. Some people, choices are harder. So I really get that. And some people go and they say, let me go and then you'll come. Let me go and prepare ground.
And then it just
and the
never
intention
happens.
is there.
Yeah.
To be honest, the intention is there. When to go, get the paperwork home, bitchy. Then 20 years later, it's never happened, right? So if we had compromised on that first, it's just a 1-year assignment.
It would have taken long.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
but I want to just ask, that conversation that you had to make that decision as a family together, what was it like? What did it look like?
So I told you about the sting. It was helpful.
Yeah.
I think many people make the decision to stay apart because they don't have a prior experience. And they say that fools learn from experience. Wise people learn from other people's experiences. And that's why we are sharing our experience, that you bright people don't fall into our trap. Yeah. So that sting was helpful in making a decision. We both knew what we went through. Of course, the kids were kids. They didn't have a lot of sway in the decision. But here's the thing. As a couple, we have, I think, one of our biggest strengths is we are so united in how we think. And that we developed when we were dating.
Yeah.
We do things together as much as possible. If we don't have consensus, we don't move forward on a matter.
Wow.
And we did that when we were still dating. We had a joint account, bank account, when we were dating, because we wanted it all clear. In fact, my first date with Julie, I told her that everything negative about me. I told her I come from a very, very polygamous family. I am looking after a ton of people. This is how much I earn.
You laid it all out.
I laid it out. I told her at the time I didn't even have a degree. And so, in a sense, we started off with a sense of don't hide
anything.
Things. And so the discussion of important topics like this, when it happens, we kind of were ready. Yeah.
But also working in community was helpful because it's hard to process, because Jordan meant that Hannington would have to lose his job. I mean, as God would have it, when he got there, he got a job, but he had to go with hope, without possibility.
Just faith.
Working. Possibility. Worst case scenario, I'm going to raise the kids, right? And we have people who worked with who say, no, Hannington, you can't. You're not tailored to raise children. You're gifted in other ways. Then we had other people. Dorothy Chisakawa was another person that God really used in our life, who sat us together and said, you know what, guys? Do it. Do it. So I think something about community helped us kind of unpack those things. We didn't sugarcoat. Like I really wanted to go, but I was like, I can't hoodwink this guy. I can't make it all. And it was a beautiful package, but I was like, we have to talk about the hard stuff. I don't want him to get there and then to say, you sold me
a lie.
You sold me a lie. No, we had to talk about the different iterations, colors, and say there's also what we don't know. You see, there's what we know, there's what we don't know. So I think that helped.
So in going, he had to leave everything, his job, his work. It's hard for a man. I can't even begin to imagine Hannington making that decision and say, you know what, I might have to look after children.
I remember my boss looking at me with so much disappointment. This is really? I really had a lot of thinking in him. We were building something big, and I was at the helm of it. We had just finished our home, a new home.
Oh my God.
And we loved it. The kids loved it. It was such a beautiful neighborhood. We had to leave that. Our business had just penetrated through. We had a school transporting business. It had just penetrated through the initial ceilings of we don't have clients and we're struggling. We now had a system that worked. We knew it was never going to work with us absent. We knew that we had to weigh all that, of course, against the package she got. So it's not foolhardy, really. We didn't make a foolhardy decision in the sense that we say, okay, how much is it giving us? Is it enough for us to leave? So, because we have a choice to not go at all, to not take it at all. And it was enough. And it has the other advantage of the kids. We're going to get good education because it came with a school for the kids, and they were going to go into good schools. And so we thought, okay, this is another allure. What's the problem now? It's Hannington. In this marriage, I think I've been the problem.
No, that's not the right framing. You need to
I was the
reframe
extra
that.
baggage to carry. Now, what do we do with this one?
No.
Everything is sorted.
No.
What do we do with this
You
one?
need to
We've
reframe
had
that.
to ask that question again and again. And now we're still asking it. So we're now in the States and we still have that question because we're in the States because of my wife's job. And the US does not give work visas to spouses. When you get there, you must go through the process of applying for a green card. You have a right to stay and we'll move it back and forth.
But you can't work.
You can't work.
Wow.
And we're Christians. We could do things behind the curtain, but we won't do that. And so we are waiting. And it's a waiting game. You can do
You
nothing.
don't know
You can't
how
bribe
long.
someone. You can't speed it up. That's where I hate these developed economies. In Uganda would find something
Quickly.
there.
Minus the bribe part.
Situation. Yeah, of course.
We'll
be
talk
clear.
to someone who knows someone, but there it doesn't matter who you know.
Yeah.
It's a system. You submit applications.
You
and your
wait.
turn.
Yeah. But I really, from what I'm hearing, there is a sense of the family must stay together, whatever the cost. No ego, no, this is I've put in what we've built and all. We are willing to lose it all to stay together. And for me, that's one of the greatest lessons I'm learning from you because it can be hard. You've worked for I don't know how long. You have a skill, you're going in blindly. Like, for me, that's the greatest thing I'm hearing. And now, Hannington, now you've gone there. And like you've said, there is no work. There may be a husband out there looking at you, hearing from you, you know. How have you been able to stay sane and continue being the head of the home even when knowing that Julie is providing in this season?
Yeah, I like the way you've asked the question because being the head of the home is important for a guy.
Yeah.
Not just for the title of it, but practically doing it.
Yeah.
And you can't do it without permission. And my wife has given me that permission. My kids have given me that permission. I've never felt a sense that, because mommy makes the money, I don't think I need to ask daddy for permission to go out.
Yeah.
Because mommy makes the money, I don't think I need to ask daddy for permission to buy a new phone. No. I have remained the head man, I've remained the priest, I've remained the prophet, I've remained the king. And thanks to Julie, she has been very generous in honoring me, in placing me in a place where the decisions that have to be made by a man in a Christian home are my decisions.
Yeah.
And where we have to work together, I've done my best to belittle myself and come to the place where I'm carrying my family with all the learning we have got, because we've come from Watoto Church, which really helped us in our foundations. What does it mean to be a man?
Yeah.
How does a man lead a family? What is important and what's not important? And I can tell you those things work. Yeah.
I think when you talked about permission, I think the word you needed to use was you've earned it, right? And we honor our husbands. The Bible says wives submit and wives honor. But also men are called to love their wives. And by loving the way Christ loves, then you earn that what he's calling permission, right? So I wanted to just add that there's something about earning and stepping up to the plate.
Yeah.
And let me say something a little about the earning thing. The earning thing comes from the fact that you really don't have to be the main bread earner to manage things. So let's think about money. In our case, it's easy. We have a joint account. I am good with finances. I do the investment, I do the bills, so I never feel the sense that mommy is we need some money for breakfast. No, we don't have to do that. But in my joblessness, am I useful? Am I indispensable? That's what I tell guys in my situation. You got to be indispensable.
Yeah.
In many ways. What about school for the kids? How are you dealing with their school stuff? Are you on top of the school game? Are you on top of their sports, their games? Are you on top of your investments? Are you investing? She's working, she spends so much time working. What's happening with the money?
Yeah.
You know, are we just living a large life and getting the next big screen?
You're adding value.
You're adding value. And so when she says I have earned, I think that's what she means, that I look back and I feel like as a man, I've played my part. Even without the money being the main income earner, I have taken the income with God, multiplied it many times over in ways probably she wouldn't have done if it wasn't there. So that partnership is critical.
And I like, when you talk about identity, because I feel like for you as a man, knowing who you are, whose you are, really plays a big role in making this situation even, to deal with, or because so many men are struggling with that. Their identity is in how much you're making and where you're working. So if that is taken away, then it's a whole different ballgame. So I think that identity and your relationship maybe with God, are you able to tell us about that? Because I'm sure you'd have to go in your quiet time and just talk to God about it and deal with it with Him.
Yeah. The truth is, man was given work before he was given a woman.
Yeah.
If you think about the beginning, God created the garden, He put the man in it, He gave the man instructions, and he went away. I don't know for how long man was running the show until God realized this guy needs help. So a man without a job is something else. And so what has worked for me is understanding what that means to be a man, whether you are with a job or not. And that is my relationship with God. It's so primary, it's so delicate, it's so protected, it is so preserved. In my personal relationship, in our family, in my job, as I call myself a priest, I call my house an altar to God, and I'm the high priest. I should pray more than anybody. I should read the Bible more than anybody. I should know the scriptures more than anybody, because I was given the garden first. I look at my family as the garden, and everybody else as a helper. So I am responsible, and I'm not responsible for the garden because of these people, but because of the owner of the garden. The owner of the family is God. And so I need to take instructions. I need to be updated. I need to make sure that the connection is on.
I love it.
All the time.
I love it.
So that I think has helped. It has helped. I think so.
Yeah, Julie. I've had quite a bit of people who I know who are earning more than their spouse, and it can be quite hard. Like when the load now is on you, how have you been able to just go through that and remain submissive and still see him as, he's my husband, he's the head, because many people have failed when it comes to that area.
Yeah. So Hannington talked about foundations, and I think our foundations before getting married were important. Right? We sat under the feet of older women, and they taught us, things around submission. And I think sometimes people frown at sitting at the feet of older women, right? And men. But we did, and those were important foundations. The other thing is, like Hannington, I attach my identity to who I am in Christ. The job is how God has chosen to provide right now. He can choose to provide in many other ways. So if it's right now, I'm the one He's pushed to the forefront, and He can say, now go get this and go, claim this territory for me. I see my job as a doorway to really win souls. I work in human resources with an international organization. And God has really pushed me in that direction. And so I see it as my responsibility to do exactly that. But I also have a strange relationship with money. I don't attach much to money. I see it as, it will help us. It's a means, but it's not an end in and of itself, right? And so I don't struggle with things like that. If anything, Hannington kind of pushes me a little bit to be a bit more.
Julie doesn't know how much she earns.
be a bit more engaged. I know how much I earn gross.
You know the small benefit. They say they were going to do this. They say they were going to do this. At this point, they said they're going to do this, and she goes like, "Yeah, you're supposed to have a bonus here."
Wow.
I'm not wired like that. Yeah. So I think it's slightly easy for me, and maybe I know it's harder for certain people. There's still women who are kind of cut out differently.
Yeah.
And I think for those people, I think stepping back, sitting at the feet of older women, and allowing themselves to be mentored, and to have a safe space to talk these things through, is what would be my advice to them, because I didn't have the same struggles because of the way I'm wired. I should say.
So how has your relationship evolved over time from the time she had to step away and you guys were apart, then coming together, and then now doing life in a whole different country and all these things? How has the relationship evolved? Have you seen some growth, some changes, some, that has made it better?
I think so. Like I began, I say that being married is the best thing. My son is now 20 and we're talking marriage. I'm saying, man, get married as soon as possible. It is the best thing that you can ever get if you do it right. Our marriage has evolved. We have had times where I was the bread earner and she was staying home.
Yeah. And
that helped us, because if at that time I was the stingy husband who was being asked, Daddy, Pagayomgat. If I was that type, now my time
has come.
Yeah. So you see, if you are in that place, guys, if you're in that place, I just want to remind you that do your best to be what you would like her to be to you. Because what is happening actually today, the world is moving very quickly. Women are getting more opportunities than us guys. And if when it was your turn, you didn't do the right thing. So respect, honor. And so I tell my son again, pick a woman you fear. Pick a woman you respect. If this woman, you don't respect her, then chances are you're going to have a problem. You don't respect a woman, you will get fire back. Because women are designed to multiply what we give them and then give it back to us. You give a woman food, she multiplies it into a meal and gives it back to you. So in the same way, if you give her trouble, she'll give you back hell. So I'd rather you find a woman you fear. So I fear my wife in that sense.
Scary.
I know she has things that I don't know. So there are things that I can't do. And that level of honor helps to keep things together. But our marriage has been wonderful. And I think we struggle with stuff here and there. There are things we still struggle with 23 years later. But on the whole, I don't look at somebody else's marriage and I feel like, I wish I had that.
I think the evolutions I'd like to talk about I'm Mchiga, he's Mganda. So I think at the start there was the cultural getting adjusted from a cultural perspective. But then also his upbringing was different from mine.
Let's eat chapati for that meal.
So there's also like a little bit of like his upbringing, my upbringing, and that was hard because he was raised in a very polygamous family, as raised in a fairly small nucleus family. So we clashed, we butted heads along that way. And I think over the years we've evolved to appreciate that he takes care of his family, I take care of my family, in the sense that if they're asking for things, they go to him, and when my family is asking for things, it goes to me. So that's an evolution we've gone through. But I also think, Hannington, you've said to me that women at 40. There's a saying, expression, women at 40.
What happened? Tell us more.
Let me give you my version, because I think his version is very raw. I think over the years, I've grown courage and I found language to explain what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing, and what I need. In ways that I didn't as a 24-year-old. And I think there were parts of that shocked Hannington. Hannington is 4 years older than me. So it's not a very big difference. But he has said to me, oh my God, like sometimes you're a bit too bold. But at the same time, he's been nurturing boldness, because when we got married, I was a little bit more timid, and I'd be like, oh, it's okay. And I'm a middle child, peacemaker. It's okay. We'll find a way. No, he said, no, I need you to be very like black and white. And so I've become very black and white. And I think when he says, there's been tough parts of our marriages, I think some of that butting of heads has come from, oh my God, my wife has a voice, has an opinion, and actually sometimes a very strong opinion.
Yeah.
And so, I think those are some of the evolutions. And we're working around it. Yeah.
I don't think it's really Julie. She doesn't agree, but I think it's women thing. And it's women and men thing. At the beginning, girls tend to be submissive. They take everything you say. They give you a lot of rope. They are unsure. And then you take position, and then you establish yourself as the king of the jungle. But as they grow, they are growing in their careers, they are growing in their experiences, they are learning things, and now they are saying, no, my house will not have that color. No, the kitchen will be bigger than the living room. No,
that's it.
And now suddenly you're going,
okay.
I thought I was building the house.
But I don't say no. I say let us consider. When you're saying this, if I say no, it's like
no, it's the boldness, the strength with which in the past they'll go like, we're building a house, okay. My husband has built us a house. A house built at 26 with a husband is totally different from the house built at 40.
That's true.
The house at 40 will have the character of a woman. And I think that's nature. Nature is such that as men grow older, their power is no longer power but influence. It's you are influenced. The difference between influence and power is influence. You are given permission.
Yeah.
My son asks me, Daddy, what do you think? My wife asks me, what do you think? Because they want me to input. They want me to input because they have seen I have value I can bring. But power is irrespective of what they think. You go ahead and do it. That's what happens in the beginning. The kids ask you, why, Daddy? You say, because I said so.
Yeah.
Then later you begin to say, I am wondering whether you're not going to change that skirt. It's a little, because of the environment in which we are, maybe you want to rethink that.
Yeah.
So it's no longer full of that. And so even in the man and woman situation, I think that happens. Women mature to a level where it's no longer you just giving instructions, to a level where you recognize that you are partners and that she has things she knows better than you. And that's true. And us guys will get Dharma later.
Wow, guys, you've had it. It's not me who was saying. But anyway, I'd like to just track back a little, knowing what you know now, because you are away, you're separate for about 1 year, there may be couples out there who are in that situation. Yeah. Maybe there are mistakes you made in that time, and now you know better. What would you tell them on how to cope in that time when they're away from one another to keep the relationship strong? What would you say for those ones who are in it now?
Who have to be It's done.
So I was thinking of the concept of contentment and success, and how we define success and how we redefine success, because our definition of success keeps evolving.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to contentment, I think Anju and I have made a decision to be content with what God has provided. I think sometimes people get trapped in the need to gain, amass faster, you're growing old, we have to do this to make money now. Before retirement, you have to have money for pension and old age. I mean, who knows how long I have to live? If I'm working for a pension, suppose I die before that pensionable age, right? Secondly, if I'm making wealth for my children, who makes me think my kids will need that wealth? Suppose my kids get Albright scholarships and don't need this university school fees that I'm working towards, or if they're going to become very wealthy and take care of us in our old age, right? So I think when people are defining success, like, how do you define success, and when will it be enough? And can you learn to be content, right? Live situation with us is we've got British passports. Hannington can very much go to England and get a job and work there. New York and London is 5 hours flight. So he could very well go to the UK and work there and keep coming to New York, or keep going to London, and we make it work and kind of amass
the wealth.
But and sometimes it's also more of the identity. It's not just not the money. It's like, I want to be contributing to something that's meaningful, right? So I think I would say, rethink how you define success, and are you truly content? If you sit with yourself, are you truly content?
Yeah.
Or are there that you need someone to come alongside you and kind of thought partner?
So that's what you have to say.
Yeah, I think when you have found yourself in a situation where you are apart, I mean, you are apart.
Yeah.
Make it work. If you eat a frog, make it big. Make it work. Put some immovables. So for us, we've been talking about the immovable. One of the immovables in our marriage has been, we never live apart for more than 3 months. So if you find yourself apart, what are your immovables?
Yeah.
I remember as a child, I promised myself that I would never have a child out of wedlock. That was immovable. It was immovable that our finances were going to be together. In a sense, you are already apart.
Yeah.
Can you put an immovable that I will not sleep with another woman? I will not have a child out of wedlock. You know, I will not sleep without making that phone call to her. And you create an environment where you make the most out of your mess.
Yeah.
Because to be fair, if you are apart, it is tough. You made a decision, and God has. I have seen many times where people have made a mess, but they've made the most out of it. When Moses ended up in the desert of Paran, after killing an Egyptian, he had made a mess.
Yeah.
It wasn't God's plan for Moses to kill that guy. And he made the most out of it. He learned how to live in the desert. He learned how to move after sheep. And that was helpful later when he had to move a whole bunch of people across a desert.
Yeah.
So God can repair. Let's not be satisfied with our mistakes. So if you made a mistake once, don't make it again. Reduce the time as much as possible for you to come together again. And like Julie said, don't let other things pressure you. Don't let money be the reason. If you think it's the wrong thing, then make the most of it and bring back the family together again as quickly as possible. And trust God. It is His interest. He says in Psalm 133, but see how good, how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together. Do you know how that psalm ends? Because there the Lord has declared His blessing. Where? In unity, in oneness, in togetherness. You might be getting a blessing in being apart, but it's a much bigger blessing in being together if you're together for the sake of God.
I love that. And would you say then that God's plan for marriage is to be together?
That was the idea.
Yeah.
Now, as Julie says, there are circumstances that have made people make decisions, but as you excuse yourself with those circumstances, what about God? Would Jesus do that?
But also, I think the Bible in Genesis 2 says, a man leaves his father and mother and is joined together with his wife and holds fast. There's a version that says holds fast. Holding fast is clinging.
Yeah.
There's pressure to put apart.
Yeah, you hold fast. There'll always be the question of, can we, but you hold fast, right? So God's intention certainly was for man and woman to be together.
And I loved what you said about being content, because of course there may be school, but many times it's work. And when I had this conversation online, some people said it's because I'm privileged, that you actually have a means of income and things like that. That's why you're saying it's a no for you. But like there are people who are really, really struggling financially, and there's a bigger opportunity. And how much is enough?
Yeah.
it will never be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So sometimes I think it's just to rethink that contentment thing and bring people together. Maybe I'll just share from my perspective. My dad used to work up country.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just up country. It's not even,
It is-
you know.
it is
That's
living
true.
apart.
Terrible.
Yeah. So as a child, it's tough.
Yes.
Because he's not there. He would come like weekends, and my mom was there, of course, holding fort. And, you know, up country seems just fort poto. It's, you know. But when parents are not together, it also affects the children.
Yes.
Because now my mom was holding fort, and then unfortunately she passed on. And now my dad had to step into this parenting thing of,
Which he was.
okay, how do we discipline?
What is?
You get
Don't doesn't know you well.
Exactly. You know, so even when you think about long distance and of course the spouse, and some people be like, he's a grown man, he'll be okay, or she's a grown woman, like as in. But then there are also children to think about. Of in a family, it was meant to be husband, wife, and children, and parenting them together. So even from our child's perspective, it will be hard because you don't have that father figure or that mother figure, and it can get quite complicated. So
I mean, I work in the humanitarian aid sector, and we have a lot of expatriate staff scattered around the world. A lot of them have families, and my heart goes out for them.
Yeah.
It really is difficult. It is hard.
It is. Oh, wow. Okay. So as we get to conclude, I know you've had so many lessons that you've shared. What are those key things that you just want to emphasize for people who are thinking about long distance and, you know, talking about holding the family together? Any last thoughts or tips that you can share with them?
Let's begin with a blunt me. Don't do it.
No.
Don't do it if you can. Don't do it unless you must. If you're running away from a political situation, then do it. But if you don't do it.
Don't do it.
And don't do it because God will honor you. God will honor you. And if you have done it, minimize the time. Quickly come together. There are principles in life. And one of the principles is man and woman must live together. That is a principle established by God. It's just like gravity. You can do whatever, you can fly in a balloon, but you come back. So rather than getting yourself hurt, finding yourself in a place where you are going against God, that's a big statement. And it might hurt some of you, but it's what it is. I think try as much as possible to stay together. If you have to be apart a short time. If you have to be together, like in our situation, pay the price. Pay the price of being together, and God will honor it. I can tell you, God has honored ours. Our journey has been a life of fighting the temptation to stay apart. First time in the US, we fought the temptation. Second time in Jordan, we fought the temptation. We went to the UK, maybe it was a lesser temptation. Now in the US, it is the hugest of my temptations. Every day I think about the investments we have in Uganda, the opportunities we have in the UK. I am a dual citizen. I could live in different places, but the US is where my family is. And my family is succeeding there. I have no choice but to stay there. God honors it. And I can tell you, we lack nothing.
Wow.
I think mine would be defining success and contentment and redefining, because it keeps changing. And then the second one would be to ask big and be bold. God says, ask of me and I will give the nations and an inheritance, right? The heavens, the earth all belong to God. And so let's not be timid. Let's not say, oh, you know, this opportunity will go away if I ask for my family to come. Just ask. You never know. And trust God. Trust God and keep knocking and keep pushing. And God will honor that.
And when you talk about paying the price, you know, sometimes we think that God's will be the easy way out. That means things should be easy. No, but every day you're paying a certain price to keep together.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't know about you, but it even applies to us just being here. Even if you're not away, away from your spouse, even if you're together, there is a price to pay. Every time you wake up and commit to this husband that you've chosen, there's something that you're possibly, losing, or saying, no, I'm going to stay home and look after the children. You're paying a price, and things like so. From what I'm hearing, in marriage, it's a journey of, giving up some of your desires for the family. And in the long run, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Wow. Wow. Guys, I have learned a lot. I hope you have. Let us know in the comment section any key take-homes that you've learned from the episode. Thank you guys for being here. It was such a pleasure. I hope, people are blessed by this story, because I have been. Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you for the courageous work you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
You're building families, and you're coming as a force to reckon with against the enemy. The enemy doesn't intend well for families.
Yeah.
So we commend the work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. My name is Lisa Kusima, and always I'm here to inspire.